Hi, I'm Dana and we're doing a slightly different setup today because I'm just experiencing really horrific anxiety and I want to sit in my corner. We don't swear in the first 30 seconds or whatever. So what I wanted to talk about today is health anxiety and having health issues and like medical issues and all of that kind of thing as an autistic person specifically, because we're getting straight into it with context. So as a young child, I had several things that happened to me that just weren't taken seriously, and nothing that I've ever had medically has ever been taken seriously. So as a young child, I threw up almost every day before school. I had severe stomach pains. I'm pretty sure it was just anxiety, to be fair, but my parents took me to not various doctors, they took me to my GP and they got a referral to the hospital. I had a scan, like an ultrasound scan done on my stomach, and they said I was fine. That was never approached again. I was still throwing up every morning. I still had consistent stomach aches. I still throw up very regularly. I'm just told, oh, well, it's anxiety and there's nothing we can do for you. It's just left. Like, I had this scan done while we were still living in England the first time, so I was under the age of 10, and that continued throughout all of high school. Every single morning I was sick, and my parents were just like, well, we took you for that scan, we said you're fine, so you're fine, you know? I had years and years and years in primary school and beyond where I refused to do PE and I refused to do a lot of physical stuff because I was like, it hurts. If I run around, if I jump about, if I dance, if I walk, if I stand somewhere, it hurts. My knees hurt, my hips hurt, my ankles hurt, my wrists hurt. Like, I'm in pain all the time. And my parents took me to my GP, and like, to be fair, they did take me back a few times because I was consistently refusing to do things because I was like, no, it hurts. And they would take me and the doctor would go, oh, it's growing pains. Or as I got a little bit older, and by a little bit older, I mean to like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, they'd be like, oh, it's because she's overweight, she just needs to lose weight. And it's like, yeah, I was overweight. I was definitely like in that BMI classification. I was also extremely tall, and I was also a child. Like, a child being slightly overweight shouldn't be experiencing chronic physical pain. That's just, sorry, he was originally washing and now he's scratching, and he might be sweet for some of us, I don't know. He's a cat, he does what he wants. But those are things where, like, obviously throwing up every morning is pretty fucking physical and visible, and like they knew that was happening. But I also, like, I regularly throw up when they forced me to eat things that I didn't want. My parents seem to very much have the idea of like, Dana just forces herself to throw up when she fancies throwing up. I really think they thought I was doing it like on purpose, and like it wasn't a thing that my body just does to me. But I had the point when I was 7 or 8 years old. I was in year 3 and I fell off a climbing frame onto the like soft flooring bit that they put under climbing frames, and I broke my wrist. And I remember sitting there for a minute and being like, oh, that hurts, that really hurts. And I didn't want anyone to laugh at me, so I just got up and carried on. And then when I went into school, we were doing maths, and like, because it was at break time, and they wanted me to use a ruler, and I was like, I can't hold the ruler and do the pencil. And they were like, well, why not? And I was like, because I've really hurt my arm, actually. Like, it really hurts to move. I can't move my fingers properly. Like, I physically can't hold this ruler to draw along it with my other hand. And they put a blue paper towel on it and told me I was fine. And I, like, throughout the day, I kept being like, my arm really hurts and I can't move my fingers. Like, my primary school was the type where you moved around from class to class. So each class I went in, I was like, my hand really hurts. Like, my arm really hurts and I can't move my fingers properly. And it's also starting to swell up quite a lot. And they just kept putting blue paper towel that was a bit wet on it and telling me I was fine. And I repeatedly heard the phrase, she'd be crying if she'd broken it. If she'd broken it, she'd be in tears. She'd be crying her eyes out. If she'd broken it, she'd be crying. That was all I heard. And I was very lucky that my mum was a dinner lady. So she came in at dinner time, and I went along with my tray that I was holding with one hand, and she was like, what have you done to the other one? I was like, I fell over earlier and it really hurts. And I can't move my fingers. And if you look, it's gone a bit swollen, a bit of a funny colour now. So she finished her shift and took me to A&E, and we went in, and the doctors were very like, oh, it's probably just a strain because she's not really reacting much, is she? But they x-rayed it anyway, was what they were saying. We'll x-ray it anyway. And it was fractured, like, not badly. It wasn't a terrible break or anything. It was pretty average childhood injury. But everyone had been acting like there was an over-exaggeration or some sort of drama from me, even though I wasn't crying, I wasn't screaming, I wasn't shouting. I was just saying, my arm hurts and I can't move my fingers properly. And that was somehow seen as me being a bit dramatic. And then they were like, oh, it is actually broken, we're taking you seriously now. And it's like, I was just telling you the symptoms, my guy. Like, I don't I don't understand why I was so often treated as though I was the boy who cried wolf and I was always over exaggerating and overreacting. I'm like, I really wasn't. And even when things did happen to me, I didn't have that much of a reaction. Like a few years after that, right before we moved to Denmark, I fell over and cut my leg open. Do you want to see the scar? Shall I show you this? I feel like seeing the scar helps to like understand what kind of, can you even see the scar on camera? So it goes from here and it goes along there and then down there. Because you're getting me. It opened. It was horrid. And my friend had ran home and told my parents, thinking they'd like get in the car and come and get me because I was just dripping blood. And they didn't. So my friend had to run back up and be like, your parents aren't coming, you need to walk home. And I was already on my way home because I was like, they're not gonna come. So I walked home like holding it closed, and I got back and my parents were sat out in the front yard and they were like, oh, what have you done now? And I was like, I've done this, and my leg like flopped open, and they were like, oh shit, get in the car. But even in the hospital, the doctors were very like, oh, have you hurt your leg a bit? And I'd be like, done this, and they'd be like, oh Christ, put your hand back, like Jesus Christ, we need to fix this, you know? As soon as people saw it, they were like, oh, but my reaction wasn't big enough or dramatic enough or whatever else to be taken seriously. And by that point, I'd been in hospital twice, both times for like genuine things. Like I had quite a lot of stitches in there, and there were talks of me having plastic surgery on it, and my parents were like, no, we're moving to Denmark, don't worry about it. So again, I probably should have had extra things done to that, and I still very regularly get like extra pain in that leg that I do think is from that injury. But my parents were just like, you've been stitched up now, you're fine. Like, no aftercare, no continuation, they've stitched you up, you're all right now. That's a lie. There was another time that I had to go to hospital, but it was traumatic and horrible because my brother had pushed me off. I had one of those little plastic tractors, and my oldest brother had pushed me off it backwards, and I'd landed on my bike, and the little like spool of the wheel, the bit that like holds it on, had gone into my back. So I'd just gotten up. I didn't even really notice anything had happened. I'd gotten up and gone into the house, and my mum was like, why are you got like pouring blood everywhere? You're dripping blood on my floor. That was her issue, was that there was blood on her floor. And then it like took her brain a minute to be like, wait, has something happened to you? And I was like, he's just pushed me and I landed on my bike and I think my bike's broken. And my mum was like looking at my back by then and be like, we need to take her to hospital. So I was sat in the car in the middle on a towel because my dad didn't want to get blood on the car. My brother's on either side of me, one of them having just been the person to injure me. And my mum's turned around in the front seat coaching me on what I'm going to say because I can't tell them that it was my brother that pushed me because he was already over 18 and could get in trouble. So we had to come up with this elaborate lie about how I just happened to fall over on my own and it was nothing to do with any of my family. And I assume that that was also in part because I'd been in hospital and been to the doctors for various other things and not received any follow-up care, and they probably knew that would start to look bad because my dad also worked for adult social services, so I assume he had some idea of things like that. And then the big one happened where my like local childhood friends we'd built a rope swing and we'd all been going on it for months at this point, so we were all like very fucking like sure and secure on it, which we shouldn't have been. And then when I went on it one time, I'd swung pretty far out and it just snapped and I fell straight down and I landed directly on my coccyx. I still remember the way it was such a jolting pain. It hurt like nothing else I've ever fucking experienced in my life. And I remember laying there and all of my friends like gathering around me and be like, oh my God, are you all right? And I laid there for like a good little while and then I was like, help me up. And I couldn't move my legs properly. Like I could move them. I wasn't like paralyzed, don't get me wrong, but like I couldn't feel them properly. I couldn't move them properly. My entire body felt wrong and just pain like rippling through my entire fucking body. It was so painful. The bit where we played was like there was like a field like 2 houses up from my house. Like it wasn't a field, it was like I think it was a plot for a house that just didn't get built or something, I don't know. But my friends helped me, like they pretty much carried me home. I had like 5 kids gathered around me all trying to like take a bit of weight because I could just about shuffle my legs. I really like could not move them properly. And we got back and my mum was like, what's happened to you? And I was like, I fell off the rope swing. And I can't walk, I can't move, I can't lift my feet properly, I can't put them out in front of me properly, I can't feel them properly. Like I'm fucked, mother. And she was like, I'll go lay down on the couch for a bit. So I did, and I just laid there for fucking hours. And then eventually she was like, you need to go to bed. And I couldn't get up off the couch. So she helped me get up off the couch and she helped me to walk to the stairs. And I couldn't lift my leg. I physically just could not lift my foot enough to get up onto the first step to climb the stairs. And I just fucking couldn't. So I had like, I want to say 6 weeks to 8 weeks, where like I didn't go to school, I didn't go upstairs, I didn't move off the fucking couch, like really. And my mum would get home from work and be like, you need to move, you need to do something, like Jesus Christ, do something. So like I was forced to get up and move around, and slowly it stopped hurting so much and I started to be able to lift my legs again, and it went back to normal. And it's one of those things that I just didn't really think about an awful lot, because I assumed that if something seriously had medically happened to me, my parents would have taken me to get it seen to, you know? But then they put me into like dance classes and drama classes and all that kind of thing. And I realised that like when we were doing floor things like sit-ups or like anything, when if I have to lay flat on the floor on my back, my coccyx bone just digs into the ground in the most painful way fucking imaginable. If I'm doing yoga, if I'm doing any sort of like floor exercise, if I'm just laying down, I have to choose a side to lay on of my flat back, because my coccyx bone sticks out and it really, really fucking hurts. And I don't feel like that's normal. I don't feel like that's... Like, I feel like I absolutely fucked that as a very young child, and my parents saw me having like a very serious medical issue and they just didn't react to it whatsoever, and they acted like I was being really silly and overdramatic. And I feel like that has definitely led into, as an adult, when I'm having medical things happen to me, I have no idea what is serious and what isn't. Like, when I talk about medical anxiety, my anxiety isn't even really particularly about like a medical thing happening to me. You know, like if I've got a headache or a tummy ache or a weird lump or whatever, and I Google it and Google's like, it's cancer, I am like, oh fuck. But my concern is much more, I will have this serious thing, I will know that it's a serious thing and I need help. And because of the way that I communicate my physical body, the way that I communicate my medical needs, the way that I communicate my pain, just my general emotion, my general like disposition and the way that I'm perceived will mean that I won't receive any help for the serious medical conditions that I may or may not have, you know? And it's the kind of thing that for a very long time, I've just tried to ignore and push to the side, and still very much do. But it's increasingly difficult when I'm seeing so many stories of like even neurotypical people who are like presenting their pain correctly and whatever else, like aren't being treated properly by doctors and aren't being seen to properly and are having severe medical conditions just continue, and my little pattern recognition brain files it all away. And it's one thing when like, you know, it's a hell of a lot easier when I can be like, that was someone on TikTok, I don't know them, they're not going to my GP, they're not this and that. My mum was going to the same GP as me for a long time when she was misdiagnosed with a UTI that she just needed to clear up for like 1.5 years before it turned out to be a brain tumour with lung cancer and bowel cancer. You know, like that was really rather close to home. And especially when it's like, I have chronic... Oh, someone's at my door, one sec. I was like, just his food and litter. But I have increasingly recently had, like in the last like year or so, had to be like, oh, I do have some sort of chronic pain thing happening. My body shouldn't regularly be in this much pain. And I shouldn't have been told to just ignore it as a child. It should have been figured out then. It should, like, when I was repeatedly telling people, I can't do this normal physical thing that everyone else is doing because it hurts my body, that should have been taken seriously and listened to and looked into, and it wasn't. So now as an adult, when I'm going to doctors and saying, no, I've literally always had this, they either completely dismiss me and are like, well, you can deal with it then, or they're very like, well, I don't believe you because something would have been done if this had always been a thing. But the reality is my parents took me to doctors who didn't know what was going on and just went, she's fine. And they never approached it again. I would continue bringing up these issues for years and years and not be heard and not be listened to and just be told that I'm actually fine, even though I know that something is happening inside my body that isn't fine and isn't right, and other people are not vast majority of other people are not experiencing. So my health anxiety is almost less of like my actual health and more just, I already don't know what's happening to my body. I already don't know how things are gonna go. And it's terrifying to look at my parents and be like, I'm 28 years old. I'm like 10 years away from when I started to watch my parents decline. Not even that, like my dad was already 40 when he had me and he was already starting to get like absolutely physically fucked. And I watched both of my parents get to points where like they couldn't do things that they wanted to because they were in so much pain. And like both my parents would have times that their hands just like cramped into claws and they just couldn't do anything with their hands. Both my parents had times that they would just be in bed for a week or two because their back's gone and they can't fucking move. And I don't want to live like that, you know? And it's like, I feel like I definitely have the same shit going on because they're my parents and it's probably genetic. And they also just like dismissed and gaslit themselves out of their own pain. And I had to watch them like decline and decline and decline until they're both dead by the time I'm 28, you know? But also, as an autistic person, I don't know what my body is supposed to feel like. I don't really know what is happening with my body a lot of the time. I can't really describe the pains that I feel, or, you know, like, even with my pattern recognition, so much of it I've been taught for like 20 years, longer, just ignore it. That's normal. If you feel that way all the time, then it must be your normal. Just stop whinging, stop complaining, stop moaning. That's how everybody feels. And like, I'm sorry, if this was how everybody felt, we wouldn't have any professional athletes. People wouldn't go on walks for fun. Like, no. So it's a level of like fear of like, I do already have something going on that is not being treated or looked at or taken seriously, and because I don't know what it is and no one will fucking help me. That's the thing as well. I know that I do get lots of comments from people suggesting what it may be, but it's, number one, I'm not a fucking doctor, you know? Like, as much as I can Google things and be like, oh, I have these symptoms and these symptoms and these symptoms, I didn't even feel comfortable talking about possibly being autistic until I'd gotten a diagnosis. Like, I do think self-diagnosis is fully valid for other people, you know? Like, I cannot accept things about myself or like feel like I am right about anything for myself unless a doctor has told me so. So like, yeah, maybe it's EDS, maybe it's fibromyalgia, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I'm not gonna believe shit until a doctor tells me so, and no doctor will take me seriously. Like, I keep really fucking trying, and I get told like, oh, we'll refer you to this and we'll send you to this. And I check my silly little NHS app. I don't have any of these referrals. I don't have any of these things they said they were going to send me to. They just, I'm not being put down for it. It's not happening. They just say what will make me like smile and be like, oh, that's great, thank you, in the appointment, and then they don't fucking bother with any sort of follow up, you know? Like, even when I talk about symptoms of anxiety that I feel, people always like, oh, you can get medicated for that, and it's like, well, I'm glad you've fucking been able to, but I keep going to my GP. I've had, like, every time I fucking move house, it's to a new area, so I have to get a new GP. And I'm like, hey, can you medicate anxiety? And they're like, no, we can't do anything for that for you, sorry. I don't fucking know why, it's just what I'm being told. So having people repeatedly tell me, you can just get medication for that. No, I fucking can't. Like, what, do you want me to go to a drug dealer and see if I can get a bit of Xanax? Like, my doctors won't give me shit. And the more that I move house because I'm in an unstable situation, the more they act like I'm fucking drug seeking or like shopping for a diagnosis, when it's like, you can see that my address has changed. I've moved to a different area. Do you want me to have to get a bus an hour and a half to my last GP? I'm diagnosed autistic and with anxiety. If I have to get an hour and a half bus to my old GP, I'm not going to see a doctor ever again. Like, even with GPs that are closer to me, I barely fucking go. And it's in part because it feels fucking pointless, because they don't do anything anyway, because they seem to have this assumption of like, if there was something actually wrong with you, it would have been sorted as a child, so now you're just shopping around to try and find something. While I'm sitting here in like genuine fucking pain most days. And it's like, sure, I've learned to put it on the back burner and sort of just ignore it. But it's also like, I can't even start new hobbies without noticing new fucking pains that I hadn't realised I had before, you know? Like, even sitting here now, my hips hurt. Oh, that was the thing that I had with my last housemate in my last house as well, because there was a point where I was like squatting in the kitchen because I was just in so much fucking pain. That was the only position that was making my body not hurt in that moment. And they came in and they looked at me and they went, have you ever thought that sitting in those positions is why your body hurts? Like, they were so fucking smart. When I first moved out, I was like, oh, they just feel like having a mental health wobble. It's not really their fault and it's this and that. And the more I've reflected on that situation, the more I'm like, no, they're actually a horrible person. And they do all sorts of little bits to try and pretend they're actually really lovely and nice, but they're an absolute cunt and a horrible, horrible person that doesn't bother to like have any empathy or understanding of anybody else unless it suits them. So it was one of those where I was like, no, I'm in this position because my body hurts. And they were like, because like they went for a run and felt better. So obviously I should just go for a run, and when I get back, my body won't be in more pain. It will have fixed it like it does for them, because everyone's just like them. Everyone should just try as hard as they do, and we could be just like them. That's a completely different rant and tangent, but it's the thing of like, I've so often had people like subtly suggest that maybe my body hurts because of the position I sit in, and because I stand like this and I sit like that, and 99% of the time I'm sitting or standing like that because it's the position that brings me the least pain in that moment. And yeah, maybe it's not going to be good for me in the fucking long run, but right now, if I just stand up normally, I'm gonna cry because it fucking hurts. So I'm gonna squat, I'm gonna sit in a funny position, I'm gonna slouch, because that's the only way my body doesn't hurt. So that's the medical anxiety around like the things I'm already experiencing, and like a bit of the future, like in that I don't want to decline in the way my parents did. But there's also the thing of like, I am petrified of having an actual medical emergency, like having my appendix go. I would think it was period cramps. My appendix would fully burst before I would be like, shit, maybe I should like take myself off somewhere. And even then I'd be going into somewhere like A&E or walking or whatever and being like, I have a tummy ache, what do I do? You know, like I feel like I could have something extremely serious happen to me and I just wouldn't know what to do or how to explain it, and as such I would just be left to die. And that's one of my big fears. Like, about 2 years ago now, I was on my way into Aldi to get soy milk and a car reversed into me and it knocked me over onto the ground. Like, I had a big bruise on my hip, it knocked me to the floor, and I was so embarrassed by people like running over to me and the driver getting out of the car and like the whole thing, that I just got up and I ran off. I was just like, I'm fine, it's all right. And I ran into the shop and I did my shopping and I went home and I was in pain. Like, I had a fuck off big bruise on my hip, and sure, it was fine, it healed and everything, but it's the type of thing where like I could have like, if I could get hit by a car and have severe like internal bleeding or something, and if I can get up and walk home, I am. And obviously, I live alone. My cat's not gonna call me an ambulance if I pass out. Like, I'm just gonna be done. And I'm laughing and joking and pretending it's fine. But like I said, this is one of my biggest fears. One of my like actual genuine biggest fears is that I'm just gonna die alone, writhing in pain in my house, because I'm not gonna know who to call or what's wrong or how to explain what's wrong. And I'll just be left because I don't know what to do. And that's the type of thing where like, yeah, I know that it's an unlikely thing to happen, but that's where if I had some sort of support, that would be a major anxiety off my mind. And I would be able to, like, if I had support, probably get the things that I currently have happening seen to and diagnosed and understand what's happening to my body and how to help it and how to cope with it. But as it is, I don't have a fucking clue what's going on. I have some weird gel shit that I try and put on when things really hurt too much, that's meant to relax the muscles, that I don't feel like does anything. Every now and again I have a really hot bath because that does actually help, but the like rigmarole and like effort of getting a bath is so fucking much for my little autistic brain that I don't do it often enough. I have a heated blanket that I try to like sometimes use to like give heat to the area so that it'll stop hurting, and that works to a point, but then I get all sweaty and sensory issue. Like, it feels like everything I can do to help the pain makes my autism worse, so I quite often just deal with it and try not to think about it, and that's not great. And I do also at the end here, like as we approach the end, at least want to say, like, I'm very aware that I'm lucky to be able to get free healthcare. It's just the thing of like, I would be lucky if I could actually get it, you know? Like, I'm really glad that I'm not wasting money on going to appointments that see nothing happening and don't help me whatsoever. But also, like, I'm not getting any help or support or actual healthcare. Like, it's nice that I can speak to a doctor for free. It would be much more of a privilege to me if they actually helped me or did something, you know? I'm just finding it very difficult right now when I already have so much to be anxious about and so much making me feel really dysregulated and like I can't relax and like I'm just not safe at any fucking given moment is how I feel very much at the minute. And it's such an extra layer of anxiety where I'm like, I should book a GP appointment again and tell them all this stuff, but also it's just a whole shit ton of effort to have nothing fucking happen. At most they'll send me for a blood test and I'll do that and then they'll be like, yeah, your blood tests were fine, and that's the end of it all, you know? Like, I haven't even gone into the weird little dizzy spells that I get, or how I have to like mostly sit down to shower because I feel like I'm gonna pass out when I'm in there. Like, there's so many little things where I'm just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to like compile all of this myself, never mind actually like advocate for myself to a doctor to get it all seen to, when I've had other people try to advocate for me as well and nothing was done then either, you know? Like, I feel like I've just consistently slipped through the cracks and no one's given a fuck, and I've just been like, okay, see ya, I'm just gonna fall down here then. I mean, I haven't even got any fucking like helping hands to give me a grope on the way down. I'm like, fuck. But yeah, that's the video. I'm going to go back to watching the Inspector Linley mysteries now because it's set in North Yorkshire, and it's had that girl that was the cop in Shameless in it, who I quite fancy, I won't lie. And then it had that woman that came to do work experience at Macintosh Textiles and then got coked up and shagged Mac all over his house. So I liked that episode of Clocking Off a lot. And then it had Alex Jake's dad in it in an episode. And the last episode that I watched had the woman that stole a baby and raised it as her own in Clocking Off. And then she also played Liz 10 in Doctor Who. And this is my new thing at the minute. I'm really enjoying the Inspector Linley Mysteries, even though I forget the title every single time. And it's fun because this one's a common woman and a posh man. So it's a completely new dynamic, unlike anything I've seen before. It's very fresh, you know? So that's that for this video. As always, if you wanted to like the video and subscribe to my channel, that'd be really cool and fun. I feel like I am in like a bit of a place where we're doing a good mix of like autism, and my parents didn't like me very much. I don't know why I keep doing shit with my hand, I'm sorry. But that's the kind of content that I make, I suppose, if you're new here. I try to keep things fun and upbeat, and when I've moved in a couple of months, you'll start getting videos of me going out to places and doing things and showing you places in Yorkshire. It'll be like a whole special interest life. It'll be really fun and cool and nice. I just have to deal with the bit until then. So you can also find me over on TikTok, Blue Sky, or Instagram. And you can also find me on Patreon or Ko-fi. And I hate doing this. I hate asking people for things. I also have an Amazon wish list, but like someone pointed out the other day, there's not that much point getting me anything off until I've moved, and that is a pretty fair point because I do just need to move with it. But also, it's very exciting feeling like I have things ready for my new place. So that's an option for you. I am also trying to scrape together my first month's rent. So if you wanted to donate a little bit over on Ko-fi or join me on Patreon, now would be a really good time for me. But there's no pressure, you don't have to. If I wanted to like make people give me money for my videos, I'd exclusively put them on monetized platforms, like where you have to pay to get them. I put them where you can find them for free because I want you to get to watch them for free. But if you do want to help me out a little bit, it is available to you and you can. But there isn't any pressure, there's no expectation, there's no I'm doing this for you so you should do this for me. Like, that's not how it works. You're all good, it's all fine. I only say all this because I've watched so many people where like they've made me feel bad for not being able to afford to give them money, and I don't want anybody to feel that way watching my content. That's not what I'm doing it for. It's not the point of this, and you don't have to, but it'd be very nice if you did want to. And I'm gonna go now. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, with year, and I will see you again in a couple of days. And sometime very soon you'll get to see Otis wear the hat that I've made him. I just want to make my matching one first.